Okay, thank you, everyone. Apologize for being a few minutes late. I'm going to go ahead and call this public hearing to adopt the budget to order. And we do have a quorum. And so I guess the first, the other formalities, I guess we don't do tonight since it's a public hearing. So, all right, so the first item is the public hearing to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate for 2024-2025. Raymond Mendoza, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez. So we are required to have a public hearing to discuss our proposed budget and proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2024-2025. And our presentation is as follows. First, a little bit about our budget development process. So we begin with our preliminary planning back in February of 2024 with meetings with our campus principals and their secretaries as well as department heads. At that meeting, we outlined the specific allocations for each and every campus based on their snapshot data of their current enrollment, and that funds each and every campus. In addition to that, we also established 3 budget workshops for our board as well. In addition to that, we also established that we were going to adopt a budget here before the end of June 30th of 2024. Next step, we developed a revenue estimation for our district for 2024. This particular item, we used our average daily attendance of 14,988. That's what we used to develop our revenue budget for the state. In addition to that, we also used the preliminary property values as submitted by the Cameron County Police District, and we apply our tax rate to those preliminary values to develop a tax rate and a tax levy for our district for this coming year. On our next slide, we also discussed our staffing guidelines. We work closely with our Human Services Department to ensure we are identifying any staff efficiencies. Meetings were held with each and every campus principal to identify each and every staffing efficiencies at their campus level based on the current enrollment. In addition to that, we are also following our TASB staffing study to ensure that we continue to right-size our school district for this coming year as well. In addition to that, in drafting our current budget, we also asked our departments to reduce their budgets by 5% for this coming year as well. After that, we reviewed and made adjustments to our budget based on meetings with our senior team and based on meetings with our school board members. Those adjustments are necessary to align with district priorities and with our financial constraints. Our main goal, as it is every year, is to present a balanced budget to our board for approval. On our next slide, we have we also take into account our financial stability here at ATISD. That's why we follow those processes. A couple of items that we've received in the past. We received an A rating for the past 23 years for our district. In addition to that, we received awards from the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. In addition to that, also, ATISD has reduced our maintenance and operation tax rate by approximately 38 cents for the past 5 years. That's keeping in line with our tax relief effort by the state through compression. And finally, approval process for our budget. A public hearing is scheduled for a budget and tax rate discussion, which is we're here now. In addition to that, following our budget hearing, we have a special board meeting for final adoption before our June 30th deadline. So every year we present to our board for approval 3 funds. General operating fund, which incorporates our TRE and athletics, as well as our food service fund, as well as our debt service fund. For this particular year, our general fund, we have allocated both revenue and appropriations in the amount of $185,315,194. For our food service program, we have allocated appropriations of $20,782,330. In addition to that, our revenue remains the same for that particular fund, that same amount. Entrance and sinking, we have allocated both revenue and appropriations of 9.2 million for this coming year. In total, the budget that we will present to our board for approval is 215,307,524. On our next slide, you're familiar with this particular slide, which are factors impacting budget for this coming school year. Here, the main purpose here is based on our previous workshops and the feedback from our board, we have prepared a balanced budget and have prepared for fiscal year 24-25 that includes a one-time payment for all full-time employees of $1,100. So again, this is in conjunction with the board's feedback and what we feel comfortable as far as a budget. And the main point here is we're presenting a balanced budget for this coming year. Next slide is our revenues by type. Again, we have three funding sources, local sources. In this particular year, we discussed that we are budgeting $54,835,618 for local sources. Of that, $50.6 million is made up of our property taxes. In addition to that, we're budgeting $136,274,119 in state revenues based on our ADA that we discussed earlier of $14,900. In addition to that, we're proposing a federal revenues of $24,197,787 for a total budget of $215,307,524 for this coming year for those three funds that we must present to our board for approval and adoption. The next slide is a further breakdown of our local revenues. As we discussed earlier, local revenues, we're proposing $54,835,618. Of that, the bulk of it is from property taxes, just a little bit over $50,658,228 for this coming year in local revenues. State revenues, as I mentioned earlier, we're budgeted $136,274,119. Again, that's based on our ADA of $14,900 for this coming school year, and all the different populations that make up that dollar amount there. Federal revenues, again, we're proposing $24,197,787 in federal revenues. Of that, just a little bit over $20 million is comprised from our food service program. That's the bulk of those federal revenues. So the next slide is our total revenue for this coming year. Again, it's broken down by type. Property taxes, we're budgeting $50.6 million. Other local revenues, 4.7. State revenues, 136.2 million. Federal revenues, 24.1 million, for a total of 215,307,524 for this coming year. This is just a graph of the previous slide. Again, the makeup of our revenues is primarily from the state. Appropriations. The next slide, we have appropriations by fund, by the three funds. General fund, which incorporates not only TRE, but also athletics. Food service fund, again, we're budgeting $20,792,330. Entrance and sinking, we're budgeting just a little bit over 9.2, just at 9.2 million, for a total funds of $215,307,524 in appropriations. This is further breakdown of our appropriations by type. As you can see here, our payroll costs make up 75% of our total budget for these three funds. There we budgeted $161,779,277 for payroll-related costs, salaries, and benefits. Another major item is supplies and materials. That's about 8% of our total budget for these three funds. Debt service, that's about 5%. And all those six categories make up 100% of our total budget, and you can see their percentages there. Again, this is just a graph reflecting the previous slide. Again, the blue part indicates our payroll-related cost. Further breakdown of our appropriations is by particular function. Again, our main purpose here is for instruction. So currently, we're budgeting 48.28% of our total allocations and appropriations for instruction, just a little bit over $103 million. In addition to that, the middle of the page, food services, we're budgeting $20,052,000. That's about 9.3% of our total budget. Also, another high function is plant maintenance and operations. We're budgeting just a little bit over $21 million. That's about 9.86% of our total budget. Debt service, again, $11.7 million. That's about 5.46% of our total operating budget. This is just a breakdown of our appropriations by function. Next slide is rather small, but just a comparison by function and object code. Again, this particular slide has all the three funds: general fund, food service fund, and debt service fund. We're looking at $215,307,524, I believe. Next slide is just our general fund. Here we're looking at $185,315,000 for our federal fund, which includes not only our TRE, but also our athletic fund. Food service, again, here we're budgeted just a little bit over $20 million for our food service in the different functions. We only have three functions here: function 35, food service; function 51, plant maintenance operation; and small part in debt service. Debt service funds, again, we only are budgeting $9.2 million for our debt service. This is to make our yearly payments both for principal and interest on our outstanding debt on our bonds. And we can only use this particular fund for principal and interest on those particular items. Tax rate, we've seen this particular slide before. Here we're using our preliminary values to formulate our tax levy based on our proposed tax rates. 0.77 cents for our maintenance and operations, and 0.163 for our interest and sinking. In addition to that, we'll also apply our anticipated collection rate of 98%. Okay, and that's the bulk of this particular slide for our local revenues based on our preliminary values. These values will not be certified until later on in July, the 23rd of July. This is the notice that we published in the local paper indicating the time and place of our budget workshop and public hearing. One of the main points is we're using our proposed maintenance and operation tax rate of 0.7722, debt service 0.163. In addition to that, in the middle of the page, you can see the total appraised value and total taxable value this year as compared to last year. Last year, we had a 4.7 million taxable value of all of our property. This year, we're looking at preliminary 5.3 billion. Okay. Next part of the notice is the revenue per student based on those proposed rates, as well as the average levy of our average residences within Arlington CISD boundaries. And our maximum tax rate that we can adopt is 0.9352. Again, we'll be adopting our tax rate in early September. In addition to those three funds, we also receive entitlements from the federal government as well as state grants. This particular slide shows those entitlements. In all, we received just a little bit over $33 million worth of entitlements and grants for our district. The largest one being our Title I, Improving Basic Programs. And we'll also incorporate into our budget our health insurance program. That's an internal service fund we budget just a little bit over $17 million. Those are some of the larger funds. And my last slide here is our taking into account not only our three funds that we are required to present to our board for approval. In addition to that, our supplementary information. So in total, we have a working budget of $248,673,536 for this coming school year. Again, the three funds that we are proposing for our board for approval later on at our special meeting will be our general operating fund, our debt service fund, and our food service fund. This is my last slide. Again, I want to reiterate the point that we must make is we're fortunate enough to make sure that we are presenting to our board a balanced budget with your input as well, and with the senior team as well. Any questions or concerns?
Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions from the board members? Ricky?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Power. So thank you, Mr. Mendoza. This has been a process, right, to get to this point, the last several months, to get to the point where we're at right now. But it continues to live and breathe, and so I'm looking at this for the first time, as it is right now. So I'm looking at page 6, our option 1 screen, and just looking at the surplus. We're budgeting for a surplus of $2.6 million. And I guess my question is the plan to take that to general fund? What is the condition of our fund balance? We
Okay.
have the appropriate number of days. Is this an attempt to make that healthier, the fund balance? And,
Okay.
and so as a second part of that, if it's okay, then why wouldn't we take that into deferred maintenance and some of those tree projects
Okay,
that might be deferred?
so yeah, that number that you're looking at right now, that 2.6, that's the savings from those two items up above, from our decrease in FTE savings. So in addition to that, so that number and our one-time payment of $1,100, that's going to cost us
Okay.
$2.6 million. So if I take my available balance right above that, it'll
Okay.
balance out.
I'm reading it wrong. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to balance the budget.
That is
to
correct, yeah.
zero. Okay.
And you are correct. This is a working document that we must ensure that we maintain it throughout the year. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mendoza, you and your team have done a great job, and you know, we always, there's just a lot of work to get to a balanced budget and a budget that represents our goals and is aligned with our priorities, so thank you for the work there. I kind of have a very simple question. The ADA that we're basing this on is 14.9.
14, yes, sir.
This year's budget, what did we base it on? I was looking for the comparison, I couldn't
Yeah,
find it, and I'm
I
sure it's
believe it
there,
was-
so.
I believe it was 15,400, I believe. for this
15.4,
committee.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Say that again, Raymond, I'm sorry.
The ADA that we base our budget there for 23-24 was 15,400.
15,400?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, may I make a comment?
Yes, Dr. Muniz?
Just want to comment, applaud you, Mr. Mendoza, and your team. I know there's a big team behind you also helping you with this process. It's probably the last 10 years that I've done this. This has probably been one of the hardest ones that we've had to walk through and really look at and peel back. And thank you for allowing us to have that time, the special meetings. Proud to be able to say that we're balancing our budget. There's a lot of school districts that are not. And appreciate the transparency in this process. Really, really, thank you.
Yes, sir. So we have a very, very excellent supporting team behind us, as well as our senior team, as well as our board. They're always very supportive in this particular process. We knew this was going to be one of the toughest years to budget because of ESSER going away. So yeah, it was very, very tough.
Good job.
I just have one
Gina?
small comment. Well, two, actually. Once again, I would just want to reiterate comments made by the other board members and just thank you for meeting with us multiple times and answering questions and going through the information. I think even on that total revenue official budget, I think it's on page 12. I know you're showing net change, but I think it's it'd be almost worthwhile to put that it's a negative. I mean, that revenue that we're receiving, I think if you look at it clearly, you see that, right? But
Yes.
the amount of revenue that we are receiving is negative compared to what we have before, and I think
That's correct.
that's important, to note that. And I just appreciate you, helping us work through this, because it has been a difficult one.
Yes, ma'am, yes, and we always must work with our ADA as well as our staffing to get us in line with our district and our district numbers.
And if I might just add to Dr. Moniz's point about it's difficult to balance a budget, and that's always our goal. Several of the board members and senior team were at a training in Fort Worth, and one of the sessions that I was in focused on budget, and there was I don't know, there was easily 30 to 40 districts represented in this meeting, and the presenter asked, before they even started, how many of you are adopting a deficit budget? And I would guess that 30 to 40% of the crowd raised their hand. So it's not a few districts statewide that are adopting. It's a large percentage of the state is the districts are having to do this. So it makes me even more exceedingly proud of what we have done, but it also represents that we've had to make really hard choices to get here.
Yes, and we must continue to work on our budget and get it to the right level. Yes, ma'am.
I want to just echo what the board members have said, and Raymond, you and your staff, I know y'all have worked really hard. This has been probably the most difficult year that I've ever experienced in the number of years that I've been on the board. It's a problem that's statewide. It's not just here in the Valley or here in Harlingen. Districts everywhere are experiencing this due to different factors that we've all discussed in our budget meetings. And again, as stated by the board members, you are to be complimented for the hard work that you and your staff have dedicated to balancing this budget, and the hard times that that face us right now, and that we're still able to accomplish what we're doing. So thank you for all that hard work.
May I add one more comment? I'm
Sure,
sorry, I'm
sure,
like on a
Dr.
comment moment here. I think it's really important that the public understands that the funding for allocation, for per student funding has not changed. And that number is $6,160 per student. That's what we get. But the cost to run the district, educate the district, employ people to teach the students, et cetera, all of those costs are going up, every one of them. So essentially, our buying power per student has decreased to where we're barely getting, I think it's $4,800. So we have to do more and more with less money. That is
That's the fact.
that's the facts, right? It's not a judgment on anything. That is just the facts of inflation and the amount we get, and it's a flat amount. So that's what's making budgeting harder.
So our legislature needs to take that into consideration and do something, because like you said, we're getting the same amount per student for the last several years, but as everybody knows, costs have increased on everything. The cost to educate students has gone way up, and we've been, we can't be any more efficient than we've been in trying to provide quality education to our kids in our district.
Mr. Powers, we're on the topic, right? So you might hear from Austin that the amount of funding that has gone into our schools statewide has increased by $18 billion. But almost every one of those dollars was for tax relief. Almost none of it found its way into the basic, or did not find its way into the basic allotment.
That's correct.
So that's a talking point that you might hear coming from up north, but no one has. That's all been for tax relief. It's not coming to the districts.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay. If not, then I guess that we will go ahead and adjourn and close this public hearing. So let's see, our next one started 6, right? Let's just go ahead and go on in.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we're going to go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and call our special meeting, special board meeting to order. This meeting was posted as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. And first item on the agenda is that we do have a quorum present tonight. And the third item on the agenda is the request for public comments for agenda topics. Do we have any?
Mr. President, there are no requests for public comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vino. All right, the next item, number 4, is matters related to curriculum and instruction. And the first item is consideration of approval of memorandum of understanding with the Cruces Internationalists of the University of Salamanca, Spain. Dalia Garcia.
Hi, good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. Gonzalez, administration, and audience. We are very excited to bring this agenda item forward for consideration. Included in your binder is a memorandum of understanding for the Cursos Internacionales Study Abroad program at the University of Salamanca, Spain. This MOU is in collaboration with the University of Salamanca, is new to HCISD, and sets the stage for our first study abroad program. For our inaugural cohort, part of the study abroad program, it'll consist of some incoming seniors, a certain number of incoming senior students. This MOU will allow our students to earn 40 contact hours in 3 courses at the University of Salamanca. Those courses include Spanish language, conversation, composition, and Spanish culture. The MOU further will provide our students a 2-week study abroad experience at the university. It'll cover medical insurance, 3 meals per day during the 2-week time that our students will be or considered to be at the study abroad program, housing at the Salamanca University, and travel to and from the Madrid airport. This is a great opportunity our students will receive if considered for this MOU with the University of Salamanca. I want to thank Dr. Gonzalez for bringing this opportunity forward for our students, the first of its kind. And students have a unique opportunity to visit the University of Salamanca, one of the oldest universities in the country, and have firsthand experience into the classrooms at the university level. The administration recommends the board approve this MOU with the Cursos Internacionales of the University of Salamanca, Spain, as presented.
Okay. Dr. Gonzalez, would you like to add anything to this before we take this matter up?
Just want to thank the board for considering this. We're excited about this opportunity for our students as we focus on intercultural awareness and international mindedness and reminding our students that they're competing on a global platform. For them to study abroad at a university that was built in 1218 and go on excursions across the countryside of Spain is going to be an experience of a lifetime for our students. So for our board to consider this, we're very appreciative of that, but we're very excited about the opportunity that our students will receive and the partnership that we're building with Salamanca, Spain. I think that the University of Salamanca is a world-class organization, and this is just the very beginning, so thank you.
All right, well, thank you. And Dalia, this is a great program, a great experience. One of my kids got to experience this when they were in high school, and it was broadens your horizons and really is great for experience that you're going to, experience. Okay. Any other comments?
Just
Okay.
a quick question, Mr. Powers. I'm sorry. What wonderful experience. It's life-changing, I think, for all participants. But just to be clear, the costs of the trip are borne by the participants. Is that a true
correct.
statement? There's no
Yes, sir.
HCSD funds?
That is a true statement. In this first round, our students are responsible for the costs. Moving into the future, we do want to generate some fundraising opportunities through a golf tournament and/or a bowling tournament so that we can start to create some scholarships for students at no cost to them, but we will raise the funds for them in the future. But for this one, to your question, sir, the costs are going to be taken on by students and their families.
Mr. President,
Dr. Muniz?
I'd like to make a motion for approval as presented.
Second.
All right. Moved by Dr. Muniz, seconded by Dr. Reiniger. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. The next item is consideration and possible approval for travel associated with the study abroad program. Dalia Garcia.
Yes, good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. Gonzalez, administration, and audience. Earlier in the spring, the district established a partnership with the University of Salamanca to create the study abroad program. Again, the partnership will allow students a unique opportunity to spend 2 weeks attending classes at the University of Salamanca. They will receive, again, 40 contact hours in those 3 courses. While at the University of Salamanca, they'll have an opportunity to participate in some additional excursions there. Room and board will be provided again by the university, along with travel to and from Madrid, Spain. For our first inaugural cohort, we are looking at sending 11 HCISD students to Salamanca, Spain from July 6th through July 20th, that 2-week study abroad program. They will be accompanied by 2 HCISD employee chaperones, and we have a great representation from our 11 students. We do have students from across the district. We have about 4 from Harlingen Collegiate High, 4 from Harlingen High School South, and 3 from Harlingen High School. So a great representation from our incoming seniors to experience that study abroad program in Salamanca, Spain. Administration recommends approval for the international travel requested as presented.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the international travel request as presented.
Moved by Dr. Cano Monreal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ricky Liao. Any further discussion?
I have just one question. So our policy has changed that allows students to travel internationally?
With board approval.
With board approval. Thank you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion carries. Item C, consideration of approval for enlisting contract services for Dr. Robina Salgado. Dr. Cortan.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez, administration, and audience, we come forward this evening for consideration and possible approval for contract services for Dr. Robina Salgado. She has been with us this year funded under a grant that we were able to secure. And so that grant extends through this coming school year. Dr. Salgado has been critical in all of our rollout with blended learning. She services a lot of our teachers at our blended learning campuses, and I might just add that she's done a phenomenal job with that. So this evening, we're coming forward to ask for your consideration and possible approval to extend that contract for 1 more year with the option to perhaps go an additional year beyond the grant. At this time, Mr. Powers and board members, the administration recommends that the board approve the contract for Dr. Robina Salgado as presented.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the HCISD contract services for Robina Dr. Salgado.
It's been moved by Dr. Muniz. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Dr. Cano Monreal. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next is matters related to human services. Consideration for approval of the HCISD compensation plan for 2024-2025. Debbie Scoggins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Powers, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the board, senior team, and audience. The 2024-2025 compensation pay plan is provided for your review. It is a comprehensive plan inclusive of the teacher hiring schedule, salary pay structure, stipend structure, and extra duty pay structure. The plan includes the following: an adjustment to the teacher hiring schedule to include a starting rate of pay of $54,200 for first-year teachers. Also, to remain competitive, included is an increase to the middle school athletic stipends. We are further proposing a one-time payment to all full-time employees in the amount of $1,100 to be paid in December. Administration recommends approval of the 2024-2025 compensation pay plan as presented.
Mr. President,
Dr. Muniz.
I'd like to make a motion for approval as presented.
Moved by Dr. Muniz. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Reiniger. Any further discussion on these items? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right. Item number 6, matters related to business service. Consideration for approval of award of construction services contract for the HCISD Lee Means Elementary Fine Arts Academy new amphitheater. Raymond Mendoza.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez. So we solicited competitive seal proposals for the Lee Means Fine Arts Academy new amphitheater. 2 proposals were received, one from Peacock General Contractors at a cost of $1,130,000 even, and one from Scoggins Construction at a cost of $1,050,000. So our ranking committee ranked the offers, and we are recommended the highest ranked proposal submitted by Peacock General Contractors at a cost of $1,130,000 even. Attached, you will find our ranking criteria and the number of points for this particular project. Any questions or concerns?
Were there other people that came in with this? Who came in second?
Were there only 2 bidders?
There was only 2 bidders. Peacock ranked out first, and then Scoggins Construction ranked out second
What was
based on
the
our criteria.
difference in,
Yeah.
what was the biggest difference here? What page are we on?
We're under item number, you don't have it,
No, I want to see the actual.
Behind 6.
6.
Thank you.
Page 2.
Yeah, page
Yeah,
16 is the ranking criteria and the total points for both items.
Yeah.
I found,
I have
okay,
it.
thank you.
And then we go to the next page, has the breakdown.
So as you can see, Scoggins Construction on items 5 through 11, they missed on some points because the data was not submitted on a timely basis.
Oscar, what was I mean, I know Raymond, I know Oscar's involved in this
Yes.
pretty
Yes,
detailed.
yes.
So, Oscar, can you comment on the differences? Because
There's a big difference in price.
yeah, the price is, you know,
The $75,000 in difference in price, yes, sir.
It was a lack of certain paperwork that was required that caused them to lose some points. If they would have submitted that data in time, they would have ranked out. And we go over this at the pre-bid meetings to make sure they don't leave anything out, because you could lose a point by 1 or 2 points if you don't give us the data. They realized the error a day or 2 later. They try to submit it, but you can't submit information after the bid date. So
Right.
that was the main difference.
what's our proposed budget on this?
The budget is $1 million using MUS fund.
MUS funds.
And then I had an additional 200,000 from TRE to supplement that, because we wanted to add some restrooms and storage facilities.
So we're still under budget?
Yes, the budget was 1.25.
Okay.
I'm just curious, so if I forget to submit paperwork, even though there's a better $75,000 difference, that's enough to prevent us from working with them?
It is, if you don't turn in financial data,
Okay.
references.
It's substantial information
Number
that.
of projects that are comparable in complexity and cost to this.
Got it.
All that data, there's a lot of data required, and we make it very clear, and they know, because they've bid our projects over and over again, and all districts have this criteria.
Perfect, thank you.
These deadlines, I think, they're unforgiving, is that correct? I mean, if you miss a deadline,
Yes.
and you go ahead and allow somebody late, you're subjecting yourself to possible liability,
That's correct, sir.
Okay, just so the record's clear.
Thank you.
All right. Let the record also reflect that Mr. Leal is going to sustain from voting on this item, okay? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve and award construction service contract for the HCISD Lee Means Elementary Fine Arts Academy, new amphitheater CNST 0624-1 as recommended by administration.
All
And I'll
right.
second.
I have a motion by Dr. Reiniger and a second by Dr. Monreal. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, let's move on to consideration for approval of budget amendments. Raymond Mendoza. Number C is discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Apple Inc. student device refresh lease, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez. So item 6B is consideration to approve our 2 final amendments for the year. Amendment number 1 is redirecting funds for summer school project. Amendment number 2 is redirecting funds to incorporate our salary accruals for the year end. Total increase is 7.8 million, and we recommend approval on this particular item.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion as approved, as recommended by
Moved by
staff.
Dr. Muniz,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Dr. Reiniger. Do we have some discussion on this item? Okay, no further discussion, then we will proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Item next is consideration for approval of the Harlingen CISD 2024-2025 budget, which we just went through in our public hearing. So is,
I think there's one more before that, sir. The consideration and approval, item 6E of the police ratification. We had brought this item back in April, and we just want to,
it's not on the menu.
It's not on our list.
It's not on the list. I mean, I have consideration approval for budget amendments, and then underneath that, we have the one we just did with Apple, and then the next one is consideration for the budget.
We did the Apple.
okay,
Apple was included in the last one. Is that
Okay.
the one you're talking about?
yes, sir,
Okay. No, I think it's approved.
okay.
Did we vote on the budget amendments?
No, we're coming up
We're
on,
on that one
we're on that one next, on the budget, not the.
Okay.
Well, but item B, I'm talking about.
Yes, I believe
We
voted-
did budget amendments.
Yes.
We didn't do Apple.
We did Apple. I mean, we can redo it if you want,
It's-
but
I think, if I'm not mistaken,
Maybe I
we skipped B.
I think we skipped, I jumped B, all right. Pardon me. Consideration for approval of budget amendments. Mr. Mendoza.
I think we've just did that one. The one we haven't done is the ratification of the lease, Apple lease.
Okay.
Ms. Trevino, do you want to say where we are in the minutes, maybe?
Yes, we're on 6C, for discussion for Apple.
We did the budget.
I specifically remember calling a vote on that item. Does anybody else, or is it just me?
Yeah, just for the record, I approved C.
That's what I
Right.
thought. I
So,
think,
so we skipped B. Let's go back
let's
to
do it,
B.
yeah.
I don't remember hearing the information on B.
Just so, we'll go back and we'll redo C, just so there's no question. But let's go back, and we're going to back up to number
I'm
B.
good with them both. Yeah.
Consideration for approval of budget amendments. Mr. Mendoza.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez. So item 6B is our final two budget amendments for the year. On budget amendment number 1, we're redirecting funds to cover for summer school. On number 2, we're reallocating funds to cover our salary accruals for the year. Total increase 7.8 million to the budget. We recommend approval.
Okay,
Motion to
so-
approve?
There you go, and I'll second it.
All
There you
right,
go.
so the record is clear. We're voting on item B, consideration for approval of budget amendments. It's been moved by Mr. Leal and seconded by Dr. Reiniger. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, so let's just, so there's no conflict with the minutes of this meeting, we're going to redo C. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Apple Inc. student device refresh lease. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez. So item 6C is the consideration and possible action regarding Apple Inc. Student device refresh lease. In February, ATISD obtained a quote from Apple to refresh all elementary and high school devices. Apple offered a 4-year lease option at 0% interest, which allows ATISD to fund the yearly lease payment at no additional cost. This item was presented at our April board meeting, but the recap that we prepared, our office prepared, indicated $1.2 thousand, but the yearly payment should have been $1.2 million. So that's the ratification that we're doing tonight. Yeah. So, yeah, so we recommend the process of ratifying the procurement via Choice Partners Purchasing Cooperative Contract that was previously approved via an interlocal agreement contract.
Just a slight discrepancy.
Yes, we used a K instead of an M on
I
the
got
actual
you.
recap.
Okay. And for clarification, Raymond, and to your defense, I think we approved C before without even going into any discussion. I think there was a motion, second, and a vote without letting you, because that is the first time we've heard
Yes.
what it's about. So
Yes, sir.
thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there any other questions on this item? Okay, then we'll proceed. I'll entertain a motion if somebody wants to make one.
Sure, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion as presented.
Moved by Dr. Muniz, can I have a second?
Second, with a clarifying question.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other existing Apple lease arrangements concurrent to this, or is this the Apple agreement?
Yeah, just this one.
Just so the other one, we had one in the past that's paid off?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Did you second, Mr. Leal?
Second.
All right, seconded by Mr. Leal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, matters related to district operations. Consideration for approval of contingency allowance expenditure authorization for number 6 for the Harlingen High School re-roof and door window replacement project. Mr. Tapia, please.
No, sir, I think it's the approval of the budget.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You've got me all mixed up here. Ray.
Sorry about that. Sorry,
Man,
Mr.
I'm jumping all over the page. All right.
Sorry.
All right, so let's go back. We're now on number D, consideration for approval of the Harlingen CISD 2024-2025 budget. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, board members, Dr. Gonzalez. So a notice of the public meeting to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate was published on June 15, 2024. A public hearing was conducted on June 25, 2024 at 5:45 p.m. The budget and proposed tax will be presented at a public hearing, which it was. The notice serves as the purpose of advising the public that the district's proposed budget will be for the 24-25 school year and gives the public an opportunity to comment on the budget. The board is required to approve a general fund, food service fund, and debt service fund. Our general fund budget of revenues and appropriations is $185,315,194 for this coming school year. The food service fund budget revenues and appropriations is at $20,792,330. Our debt service fund requirements, revenues and appropriations is $9,200,000. All steps have been taken to comply with the truth and taxation requirements, and administration recommends that approve the budget as presented for 24-25, fiscal year 24-25.
Mr. President, I move approval of the Harlingen CISD 24-25 budget.
All right, it's been moved by Dr. Reiniger. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Leal. And just for the record, we had a public hearing earlier today. We went
Yes.
through this in much more detail.
Yes, sir.
And we've had extensive meetings, as Raymond has just pointed out, going through the different line items. So again, thank you, Raymond, for you and your staff's very hard work. Any
We have
further-
an excellent staff, sir.
You do.
She do.
You're very fortunate, but they're lucky to have you too. Thank you. Do we have any further comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Budget's approved. All right, I'm back on track. Number 7, matters related to district operations. Consideration for approval of contingency allowance expenditures authorization for number 6 for the Harlingen High School re-roof door window replacement project. Mr. Tapia.
Board President Powers, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez. This is a change order to the contingency fund for the Harlingen High School re-roofing doors and windows project that's being done by RGO Roofing. It's to replace the entire metal deck, which is severely deteriorated on a high roof section of building, the computer lab building. I did present this and share with the board in detail at the facilities committee meeting of this change. We do have $66,602 left in contingency. This change order is in the amount of $36,883. So we have sufficient funds in the project to do this, and we'll still have a balance of $29,719.10. So I recommend approval of this change order as presented at our facilities committee meeting and at this board meeting.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the contingency allowance expenditure as presented.
We have a motion by Dr. Cano
Second.
Monreal, seconded by Dr. Muniz. Any discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's approved. All right, so the next item is we are going to adjourn to close the executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act, for the following purposes: to discuss employment of teachers and other professional staff, consultation with legal counsel regarding legal issues related to the proposed non-renewal of teacher CC, and discussion regarding proposed non-renewal of CC. At this time, we are adjourned into executive session. Showtime.
Sure.
You can't tell me.
All right, we're going to reconvene into open session. And the first item is the consideration for approval of employment of teachers and other professional staff. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution regarding the proposed, oh, am I on the wrong one?
Number
All right.
9A.
Sorry.
I can move on 9A if you'd like.
Sure.
Mr. President, I will move that we approve employment of teachers and other professional staff as presented in executive session.
Motion by Dr. Reiniger. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Leal. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It is approved. Employment is approved. Number B, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the proposed non-renewal of employee CC.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution regarding the proposed non-renewal of employee CC as discussed in executive session.
All right, I have a motion by Dr. Muniz. Do I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Dr. Reiniger. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Do we
We have another motion.
Board will entertain the other motion.
Yeah, but I didn't know if you had another item you had to bring up.
No, I think
No.
Is that the
that's,
same item?
this it's the same
Okay.
item.
All right, in addition, I would like to move that the Board of Trustees offer employee CC a one-year probationary contract for the 2024-2025 school year.
All right, it's moved by Dr. Cano Monreal. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Dr. Reiniger. Is there any further discussion on this item? No further discussion. We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And
I
with
still
that,
don't know what she's saying when she says that.
I think that's it.
Same?
Yes, sir.
Any other business before the board? We are adjourned.
Very good.